Uh, well, good afternoon. So I'm Sarah, and I'm a resident of Ward 2. And I'm here today to ask the City Council, as I've heard you already be asked repeatedly, to embrace the responsibility to ensure that all of the citizens in the city are housed and to make this a priority in the 2022 city budget. So, to start, I have to comment that, like, as I was preparing for this delegation and sitting here waiting for my turn to speak and listening to the other delegates, I feel a lot of, nervousness and also a lot of anger. That's something that I'm definitely still feeling right now, to be completely honest. And I think part of that is probably just classic stage fright. But I also think a big part of the feeling comes from this impression that I have that the city council is unreceptive and maybe even hostile to this request. I hear the way the issue is talked about, and I just can't help but feel like, there's a lack of respect for the severity here. And I think that I share this feeling with a lot of housing advocates and with a lot of the people who have to live with housing insecurity. So there are some facts here that we've already heard, but just to repeat, uh, that Hamilton is one of the most unaffordable cities in North America. That rent and housing prices have gone up dramatically in the past couple years. We know that there are thousands of people on a wait list for affordable housing. We know that, as it was mentioned by previous delegates, that the very definition of affordable housing already excludes a lot of people. This is something that's affecting a huge number of us. We know that we have a huge unhoused population and we have insufficient shelter space. And on top of that, many unhoused Hamiltonians choose not to enter the shelters for a variety of reasons. And we don't have real alternatives to offer those people. So, these problems, they're not new problems. They've been around for decades and they've only gotten worse. So, that's a partial statement of the problem. And the the solutions that we've seen from city council so far are kind of what I want to talk about, right? The city received federal grant to build affordable housing. But we know that there aren't enough units being built to house all the people on the wait list. Our ask is for everyone to be housed. So I guess it shouldn't be surprising that we're not satisfied by, a partial answer. And I think, not hard. It's hard for us, for me, not to feel like, ignored when our criticisms are dismissed, as being unrealistic. And we're not really offered like a clear answer as to how the problem will be solved. We're just told that we have to be happy with the partial solution. Another thing that the city does is it opens overnight warming shelters sometimes, I think when the temperature dips below minus 15 degrees Celsius. But the warming center shouldn't even be necessary. At the bare minimum, we should have options available for anyone who wants to sleep inside on any night of the year if they choose to. And that's not to lose sight of the bigger picture, or not to lose sight of the bigger picture here, but where does this critical temperature come from? There's something arbitrary about choosing minus 15 as the temperature when it becomes serious that people are sleeping outside. It doesn't really communicate respect for the severity of the fact that we have neighbors sleeping outside in the winter in Hamilton. And what else do we see the city do? We see the city evict people who are sleeping in tents, and we see the city board up the warm space behind City Hall. And we're told that the people who this is affecting are refusing the options presented to them, which, okay, if that's true, then why is the city council not considering better options? Where are the options that the people are actually asking for? Where is the discussion of what we can do better? Like, we're constantly blaming the most vulnerable people. These particular things, they're such distilled pieces of cruelty that it's hard for me not to bring them up. But this dismissal of all of these completely valid requests and needs of our unhoused neighbors, it's not new. It's throughout the discourse. So, what I want to say is that the feeling that I have is that our city council believes that houselessness is some like inevitability, like bad weather that's always going to be with us. The mayor says that they're moving heaven and earth to find options for people, but simultaneously completely failing to do that. And, we're told that we can't do more without funding from the provincial and federal governments, but we can see how the budget is allocated. And we're just therefore being told to accept that the things that do get funded are just more important than the basic needs of housing for the most vulnerable people in our communities. I want to quote Kojo here, who said that, the status quo is not working. So for me, that's why this ask of embracing the responsibility to house is so important. It means taking this problem seriously and showing us that you're taking it seriously and committing to find complete solutions that actually solve the problem, not taking partial steps that leave, large numbers of people left out and then patting ourselves on the back for them.
Thank you, Sarah. Your
Embracing.
5 minutes is just over. If you have a wrap up sentence, you're welcome to give it, but your 5 minutes is up.
Okay, thank you. It just, when you're planning the 2020 budget, I want the top priority to be ensuring safe, secure housing for everybody in the city.